The Occupy movement began as a political initiative, pinning the theoretical 99% of disenfranchised Americans against corporate powerhouses. It sprouted from increasing discontent with the U.S. government, and it played on the socioeconomic tensions that had developed amid these hard times. Some would say it began as a desperate attempt to assign blame for the economic hardships and made someone accountable for the country's financial and moral deficits. What the Occupy movement became, however, was deeper than a matter of money. The news team at InsidersHealth was there to see firsthand how this movement evolved from a lesson in politics to a lesson in human nature. We entered the tents at Occupy Boston like we were entering a primitive civilization. Looking at the dynamics of this new community was like looking at a settlement in the very infancy of development. Everything was rustic, from the accommodations, a bunch of plastic tents, to the infrastructure, wooden boards creating pathways through these dwellings. They had very meager supplies that came by donation only. They had no running water. Their food sat unappetizingly and unsanitarily in the open sun. We spoke with a meal coordinator to find out if health was a concern.
Well, basically, we just go through and make sure, it looks fine, there's no mold, it's not old, anything like that. And there's so much that we actually have a compost set up now for pickup twice a week. So it's not a big deal, I guess.
So nobody's come to complain to you guys that they're sick or anything like that? Not that they would.
There were a couple incidences, I won't lie. There were a few food illnesses, yeah.
Now, where do you source this food from? Is this all donations?
All donations, yeah.
And so people have been really receptive to this?
Oh, yeah.
So do you guys find that you're mostly getting people who are part of the Occupy Boston movement, or do you get a lot of people who are homeless or just looking for a good meal?
All kinds of people, I'd say. Yeah, there are a lot of homeless people. There are a lot of people that are here. I think there's a good amount of people that just come by for free food and aren't really,
No, do you guys embrace that, or would you rather
we don't turn down anyone. Feed whoever comes by, and hopefully they realize that we're nice people and actually find another interest.
It's all part of the movement. Just embrace everybody.
The destitute community played a large part in the movement. It's likely that they also felt disenfranchised and identified with this socio-political subset.
So do you feel like it's their, I don't want to say fault, but that you're not working, or is that a personal choice?
Well, there's just no work. And yeah, of course it is their fault. I mean, they've raped the economy flat out.
What's more, the camps provided them an opportunity to improve their current state. This came in the form of medics, social workers, and employers who offered their services and support to the protesters.
We have people wanting cough drops, vitamins, hand sanitizer, that sort of thing.
Okay, and I noticed that you said mental health as well. What kind of mental health concerns do people have?
Some of the people who volunteer here are social workers or psychologists, and so they tend, and there are people on call that we can call in if there's nobody here at the moment for that.
Okay, so you can point them in the right direction to different facilities that could help them out. Now,
with their basic needs more or less tended to, protesters could focus on the issue at hand, an economy torn apart by doubt and capitalist corruption. We spoke to the protesters in the camp's makeshift library about what prompted them to uproot their lives and join this controversial cause.
Our politics have become such a game of sports, like whose team are you on, whose team are you on, always root for your team, and we're not looking at the big picture, which is that we need care for our citizens. If we get people learning that they can make a difference when they work together, even in just a small group, then that's a movement, that's a change in the political environment, that's a change in our culture that can't die, that's a change that can go on and on.
Then there were the latent effects that stemmed from these protests. The development of community, the socializing effect of having a common cause, the communication of additional concerns like women's rights and health care.
Where do you think that healthcare fits in the Occupy Boston movement in corporate America?
Well, I think
The important thing about Obama's healthcare bill to realize is that it's actually Bob Dole's healthcare bill that he proposed in 1994, 1996 in contradistinction to Bill Clinton's healthcare bill. So what you've seen over the last 10, 20, 30 years is that the scope of conflict in this country, what it is we discuss democratically, has shifted so far to the right that you have a democratically elected president, one of the largest landslides in U.S. history, passing Bob Dole's healthcare bill.
Right.
I think that's an example of exactly what it is we're trying to fight back against. We're trying to move the scope of conflict back towards where we can have a reasonable conversation and away from this sort of violent market utopianism that we've been living under for 30 years. What we're trying to do is just get this conversation away from this really aggressive idea that the market can solve all our problems. You know, making Ben Bernanke head of the Fed is like appointing a Christian Scientist to the Surgeon General. You know what I mean? Like, they will impress you with the elegance and power of their devotion, but they will let you die when you get sick.
Although the air was politically charged, the message of healthcare was a prominent one.
Compared to the cost of military spending and government spending in a lot of other areas, it's a drop in the bucket to provide, citizens with healthcare and education. It's just a fundamental human right that at this point we need to be embracing as a country.
We just have to go back to the things that we did before that worked. And it's not really hard, and there's enough people with enough brains in this country. We can fix things up. We've got to get the parasites out of the way, and the vampires and the vultures. Get out of here. We can do this. This is not hard. They make you think it's hard. It's not.
Nearly 16% of Americans are without health insurance, leaving them vulnerable, unprotected, and concerned about their future. Still, the tone was not angry. It was jaded. But more than that, it was hopeful. These people had a sense of peace and community that they wanted to impart upon others. It was one of giving, if not socialism. They wanted everyone to share in the bounties of economic profit. This was all in an effort to maintain a peaceful protest and uphold the principles of their movement. The movement isn't over. It's gathering momentum, and it's encouraging others to join in this cooperative effort to support the majority. This is our soapbox to take a stand. Insiders Health stands with you. We thank Occupy Boston for letting us into their community, and please continue to speak up for your rights, your future, and your health.